With only 58 points left on the table this season and Lando Norris leading Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri by just 24 points, every single position in this sprint race could determine who becomes the 2025 world champion. One mistake, one brilliant lap, one moment of genius, that's all it takes. And tonight, under the lights at Lusail, we saw all of that and more. So buckle up because I'm taking you through every single driver from dead last at P20 all the way to pole position, and I'm breaking down exactly what happened, who is in trouble, and who just made a championship statement. Alright, let's start at the absolute bottom because this is where some serious drama unfolded. P20 was Franco Colapinto and P19 was Pierre Gasly. Franco Colapinto starts from the very back. The Argentine described having massive understeer in slow and medium speed corners. When he tried to push, the front tires just gave up. This is painful to watch because we know this kid has talent. Just ahead of his teammate Pierre Gasly qualified P19, Alpine is having an absolute nightmare weekend. Both cars knocked out in SQ1, and we're talking about a team that's been scraping for every point. Gasly couldn't find the pace, couldn't find the grip, and now both Alpine drivers will be watching the sprint from the back of the grid, hoping for chaos ahead. This is not how you want to end the penultimate race weekend of the season. P18 was Lewis Hamilton and P17 was Liam Lawson. And here is where it gets really uncomfortable. Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion, Ferrari driver, qualified P18 again. 1 week after qualifying dead last in Las Vegas, the worst qualifying performance of his 19-year career. On pure pace, Lewis is knocked out in SQ1 again. Listen to this radio message. Ah man, the car won't go any quicker. That's defeat in his voice. That's frustration. That's a driver who knows he's giving everything and the car just isn't responding. When Sky Sports asked him about the session afterwards, he said 3 words, same as always. Then when they asked about his prospects for Saturday, he simply replied, the weather is nice. That's a sarcasm born from absolute exhaustion. Hamilton was almost 9/10 of Verstappen in SQ1 and 4/10 behind his teammate Charles Leclerc. This debut Ferrari season has become nightmare for Lewis, and honestly, I don't know how you bounce back from this mentally. What happened to the Lewis who won the China sprint from pole at the start of the season? It feels like a lifetime ago. Liam Lawson starts P17 after an absolutely frustrating qualifying where he didn't even get to complete a second flying lap in SQ1. What happened? Timing error, pure and simple. Lawson came out for his second run but got stuck in a massive queue of cars at the pit exit. Everyone slowing down, trying to create gaps. He crossed the line right behind Gasly or Colapinto, and his lap time was compromised before it even started. This is crucial because Lawson teammate Isaac Hadjar made it through to SQ2 and qualified P11, showing the car has pace. Lawson himself said the car has been very quick today, we just messed up the timing completely. Meanwhile, his Racing Bull seat for 2026 isn't even confirmed yet. Not the weekend to have the timing error cost you. P16 was Lance Stroll and P15 was Esteban Ocon. Lance Stroll rounds out SQ1 eliminations at P16, while his teammate Fernando Alonso stormed to SQ3 and will start P4. Stroll once again couldn't find the pace. This is becoming a pattern. Alonso is now 22-0 against Stroll in qualifying this season. 22-0. That's not a head-to-head, that's a domination. Stroll was over 1.7 seconds of pole position, and when you're being beaten by 7/10 by your 43-year-old teammate every single weekend, questions start getting asked. So we move into SQ2, and this is where things get interesting, because the gaps start to tighten. We're now in the realm of drivers who gave genuine pace, but just couldn't quite make that final step into the top 10 shootout. Esteban Ocon qualifying P15. Now Haas has been surprisingly competitive at certain tracks this year, but Losail doesn't seem to suit their car. Ocon was 6/10 of SQ3 cutoff, and his teammate Ollie Behrman actually outqualified him, so we know there was more pace in the car. This is a missed opportunity for Ocon to score some crucial points in the sprint. P14 was Nico Hülkenberg and P13 was Gabriel Bortoleto. The Hulk Nico Hülkenberg starts P14. Here's what's interesting, track evolution was massive tonight. The later you set your time, the quicker the track got. Hülkenberg's been driving brilliantly this season, consistently outperforming that Sauber. Gabriel Bortoleto, the Brazilian rookie, qualified P13. For a rookie, getting this close to SQ3 is genuinely impressive. He's learning, he's improving, and he's keeping that Sauber somewhere near respectability. Give this kid a time, and I think we're going to see something special. P12 was Oli Behrman, and P11 was Isaac Hadjar. Oli Behrman continues his solid rookie season with P12, beating his more experienced teammate Ocon. Behrman's been thrown into the deep end this year, and while Haas isn't giving him the machinery to fight for points regularly, he's showing maturity and pace. And here's the interesting one. Isaac Hadjar just missed the SQ3 cutoff. This is actually the better of the two Racing Bulls results tonight because remember, Lawson got knocked out in SQ1. Hadjar is auditioning for that second Red Bull seat, and based on his interview before the weekend started, I think he got it. Now we enter SQ3, the top 10 shootout for pole position. This is where the championship contenders needs to deliver, where the pressure is at maximum and where mistakes cost you dearly. But not everyone in SQ3 nailed their laps. P10 was Alex Albon and P9 was Charles Leclerc. Alex Albon rounds out the top 10. Now Albon's been Williams' star performer this season, regularly dragging that car into position it has no business being in. But tonight, he couldn't quite find that extra edge. There was a moment on his final lap, a little twitch at turn 15, that seemed to cost him just a sliver of time. In a session where thousands mattered, that's difference between P7 and P10. Still, both Williams cars in the top 10 is a solid team performance. Charles Leclerc qualified P9 over half a second of pole position. And here's the concerning part. Ferrari looked competitive in practice, but they just couldn't deliver when it mattered in SQ3. Leclerc did what he could, but the car looked like a handful. He barely scraped through SQ1 in P13 before improving in SQ2, but in the final shootout, the pace just wasn't there. This is a worry for Ferrari because they're fighting for P2 in the Constructors' Championship with Red Bull and Mercedes, and if they can't challenge at all at a track like this, that P2 is slipping away. P8 was Carlos Sainz and P7 was Kimi Antonelli. Carlos Sainz starts P8. This is a brilliant result for Williams and for Sainz personally. Sainz had to be smart with his lap. He aborted an earlier attempt, then took 3 preparation laps before his final run, which is unusual but clearly worked for him. He's beaten his teammate Albon and shown that Williams might have more pace than we thought. Kimi Antonelli, the 18-year-old rookie, qualified 7, less than a half a second of pole position and ahead of both Ferraris. This kid is something special. Yes, he's in a Mercedes, which is a good car, but he's also consistently getting closer to George Russell as the season progresses. Tonight he was initially out in SQ2, but Isaac Hadjar had his lap time deleted and allowed him to make it through, and he seized the opportunity in SQ3. This is a statement drive from Antonelli. The future is bright. P6 was Max Verstappen and P5 was Yuki Tsunoda. And now we get to the big story of the night. Max Verstappen, 4-time world champion, the man chasing his 5th consecutive title, qualified P6. Sixth, and he is not happy about it. Max made a critical mistake on his first push lap in SQ3 on the soft tires. He went wide, lost time, and never recovered. His second lap wasn't good enough either. Through the session, he was complaining about steering issues, lack of stability, gear shifts, ride quality, basically everything. The Red Bull RB21 was not working for him tonight. Here's why this is huge. Max is 24 points behind Lando Norris with 2 race weekends to go. He needs to outscore Norris, and starting P6 while Norris is P3 is not the position he wanted to be in. Remember, the sprint race awards 8 points for P1 down to 1 point for P8, so every position matters. This is not the championship statement Max wanted to make. The pressure is on. But while Max struggled, others thrived, and this is where the story of this qualifying session gets really, really good. Yuki Tsunoda qualified 5th. Let me say that again, 5th. Less than a half a second of pole and ahead of Max Verstappen. This is a sensational lap from Yuki. Tonight, he showed why he deserves to be in Formula One. Clean laps in SQ1, SQ2, and then when it mattered the most, in SQ3, he delivered. This is Yuki's best grid position in weeks, and he is in prime position to score big points in the sprint. Absolutely brilliant, and his first time out qualifying Max Verstappen. P4 was Fernando Alonso and P3 was Lando Norris. The old master, Fernando Alonso, starts P4. At 43 years old, Fernando continues to show why he's one of the greatest qualifiers in F1 history. While his teammate Stroll got knocked out in SQ1, Alonso delivered a clean, precise lap that put him ahead of Max Verstappen and both Ferraris. Alonso was strong all day, P3 and FP1, quick throughout SQ1 and SQ2, and when it came to SQ3, he nailed it. That Aston Martin has been struggling for pace recently, but Alonso's experience on this technical high-speed circuit made all the difference. He's now 22-0 against Stroll in qualifying this year. That's not luck, that's a pure class. Starting P4 gives him a real shot at points tomorrow. Here we go. Lando Norris, the championship leader, qualified P3. Now this is both good and concerning for Lando because he's starting on the second row ahead of Max Verstappen, which gives him track position. Concerning because he was beaten by his own teammate and a Mercedes. What happened? Lando ran wide in the final corner on his push lap, kicked up the dust, lost time, and that mistake cost him pole position. He was fastest in SQ1, fastest in SQ2, and looked unstoppable, but when it mattered most in SQ3, he made an error. Now, P3 is still a great starting position, but if you're trying to win a world championship, you want to be starting at the front, controlling the race. Instead, he's got work to do. Remember, Lando needs to outscore Max and Oscar by just 2 points this weekend to clinch the title. Starting P3 with Max down in P6 is good, but it's not decisive. The pressure remains. P2 was George Russell, and on pole is Oscar Piastri. What a lap from George Russell, P2 on the grid, with splitting 2 McLarens. Russell has been on fire recently. He was second in Las Vegas last week. He's been consistently strong in qualifying, and tonight he produced a stunning lap that nobody expected. Mercedes hasn't been the quickest car at high-speed tracks this year, but Russell extracted every ounce of performance from that W16. He was calm, composed, and when everyone else was pushing too hard and making mistakes, Russell kept it clean. He's now in the perfect position to attack into Turn 1 tomorrow and potentially win this sprint race. With Mercedes fighting for P2 in the Constructors' Championship, every point counts, and Russell has put himself in prime position to deliver. Pole position for Oscar Piastri. Here is why this is massive. Oscar has been struggling. Since his win at Dutch Grand Prix back in August, he's had a nightmare run of a form. Mistakes, bad luck, strategy errors. He's fallen 24 points behind Norris in the championship. Despite having more wins this season, coming into this weekend, people were writing him off, saying the championship was between Norris and Verstappen, that Oscar's chance had gone. And then tonight, under the lights in Qatar, Oscar Piastri delivered the lap of the session. Fastest in SQ3. Clean, precise, perfect. This is Oscar's statement. I'm not out of the championship fight. I'm here, I'm fast, and I'm coming for this title. He's level on points with Verstappen, just 24 behind Norris. And now he starts the sprint from pole position. If he wins tomorrow and Norris finishes third, Oscar gains 2 points. That McLaren looked absolutely planted. Oscar looked confident, and when he crossed the line and saw that time, you could see the relief and joy. This is the Oscar Piastri we saw at the beginning of the season, the Oscar who dominated, and if he carries this form through the rest of the weekend, we might just witness one of the greatest championship comebacks in recent memory. So there you have it, every single driver from P20 to pole position in the 2025 Qatar Grand Prix sprint qualifying. What a session. Hamilton's nightmare continues. Verstappen made a critical mistake. Alonso showed he still got it, and Oscar Piastri made a championship statement with a stunning pole position. Here's your takeaway. This championship fight is far from over. Norris starts P3, Verstappen P6, and Piastri on pole, and the sprint race tomorrow could change everything. We're talking about 8 points for the winner, and with only 24 points separating first from third, every position counts. The sprint race happens tomorrow, and then we've got main qualifying in the evening. This is going to be insane weekend, and I'll be breaking down every moment of it right here. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that subscribe button because we've got sprint race analysis, full race coverage, and the championship finale in Abu Dhabi coming up, and you don't want to miss any of it. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss a video. Drop a comment below. Who do you think wins the sprint tomorrow? Piastri from pole, or will Russell or Norris snatch it at the start? I'll see you in the next one.